Hey everybody, welcome back to Auto Scholar with Mr. B. I'm Mr. B, and today we have this 2004 Volkswagen Passat B5.5, or this also will apply to a B5, and we are doing the heater core. Okay, so the heater core on this vehicle is clogged up. I've tried to flush it several times. It's just not working out. The car's got some age on it, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the heater core in it. So looking at the book time on this, it takes about the average technician about 10 hours to do this job. However, I'm going to show you some shortcuts because this is not a job you really want to spend a whole lot of time on. It's not one of my favorite jobs to do on these cars. However, I've seen a lot of people on the forums asking, how do I replace the heater core? So I'm going to go ahead and do this video and show you guys how to do it. So first thing we have to do is go on the hood, make some disconnections there, and then we'll move to the inside of the car. Now, before you disconnect the battery, which we're going to have to disconnect the battery, what you want to do is, if you have power seats or anything, go ahead and set those all the way back. You can leave the backrest up, but you also want to leave the car, the gear shifter, if you have an automatic, all the way back into first gear. So those should be your first steps. Second step, of course, disconnecting the battery. I have the battery removed on this vehicle because I'm doing some other things to it. So we just finished up with our leaks video. So if your Passat has leaks, I have a video for that. So we'll move on. Don't forget, guys, to like the video if it's teaching you anything, and of course subscribe to the channel. That helps me as a YouTuber. Let's go ahead and get underneath the hood on this thing. Okay, so as y'all can see, I've got the battery removed. You don't have to remove it, but disconnect it. We have our AC system. It has been recovered, and I've removed the 8mm bolt that holds the lines on. Pull those out. You may want to go ahead and replace these O-rings back here if you have never done that before. And we're going to have to remove this wiper cowl right here, but you have two caps that cover these wipers, and they'll come off. And you may want to put some penetrating oil down here once you get this nut off, because these wipers always stick. Okay, so you want to get that off, and then you'll have some clips that hold this cowl on right here. These clips right here, and they just come off just like that. And so you'll have a couple of those across the front, and then we're going to come over here to where the engine control module lives, and we're going to take this cover off. It has some little 8mm bolts here. We're going to take this cover off, and so I'll rejoin you after I get all that done. I'll show you what we have to disconnect under here. Okay guys, I want to show you something real quick too, because I forgot about this. I haven't done one of these in about 10 years, and it's been a while. So if you don't want to take this cowl off, your wipers are having a hard time coming off and everything else, if you look up here, there is a hole right there, and you're going to need to do this when I believe when the hood's closed, and you can get an extension and get that back bolt underneath there. That, see the hole right there, that is holding this cover on, and that is going to let you take that cover off, get the ECM out of the way, and get to these connections here we have to take off. So you have these connections down here, and this is the back of your dash. Now you also have, and I can't get the camera in there, but there is a 10mm bolt underneath the wiper cowl about right here that you're going to have to take out, and there's no way I can get this big old camera in there. So it's right there. Take that out, and then we'll pretty much be done underneath the hood. Okay, so now we are starting on the inside of the vehicle. First thing you want to do is just go ahead and pull these off each end. They just pop off, and stick that over there. We're going to need to remove the glove box. There is T20s, I believe, are right here, here, and here. You have a light back here in the glove box that when you pull it off, you're gonna have to unplug. You also have T20s underneath here. I think there's two underneath here. We're gonna go ahead and get those out. Then there is these little trim pieces right here on both ends. There's one on the other side as well. I'm gonna go ahead and get those out. On this side, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult. Go ahead and take your side piece off here and get this bottom piece out. I had this out for a different video, but there's just a couple of screws that hold it on. Go ahead and remove that. I went ahead and disconnected the diagnostic link from that. There's two little clips that you squeeze and it just pops out. Go ahead and get that out of the way. Also, we're going to need to secure the steering wheel, which I'll show you how to do here in a second. Okay, so the steering wheel is going to have to be secured, and the reason why is we are going to disconnect the steering shaft down there, and that's going to mean that the steering has no play on it at all as far as any tension or anything like that. So because of that, the steering wheel can actually spin around as much as you want to, and that's normally not an issue, except you have a clock spring in here that provides power to your airbag and your volume controls and your cruise controls. So what I do is I take some packing tape here and I wrap it in between the spokes of the steering wheel and around the turn signal shaft and everything else, and I just secure this to where it doesn't turn that much. But you definitely want to do that, because if you break that clock spring, first of all, they're kind of expensive. Second of all, you're gonna have to take the steering wheel, airbag off and everything and replace that. It's just not a step we want to go through. So I also, as far as the center console goes, it's easier to do this job if you take it out. So if you have any reason to take the center console out, that's fine. What I did is, because I have the wood interior and it's pretty fragile, I went ahead and just took the ashtray compartment out. There's a little Phillips head screwdriver that holds it in. You have to manipulate it out. And then this plug right here plugs into your cigarette lighter, so just pop that loose. And of course you want your shifter all the way back if you already haven't done that before. I mentioned that at the beginning of the video. And what I do is I just take a cloth or a rag or something and I lay over this area, because this dash is going to come, this whole thing is going to come out, and it's going to lay right here. Actually, it's going to lay further back here. So we don't want to scratch this by rubbing the dash over it. And so you want to put something that's going to protect this. That way the dash isn't scratching up this console. So this is how I secure the steering wheel. I just take that packing tape and I run it around a couple times to the wiper. Not the wiper, but the turn signal. And that keeps it from going anywhere. And that's what you want to do to protect your clock spring. If you have a manual transmission, you can take the key out, the steering wheel will lock, and you won't have to do this step. But since I have an automatic, I have to have the key on the on position to turn, to take this and put it all the way back. I have to take this step. Okay guys, so I decided to go ahead and take the console out, just because it's a little bit easier to get to the bolts down here. You have these two bolts right here. You see the little silver marks on each end. And so I just went ahead, you have two little covers right here you pop off, one on the other side. It's an 8mm bolt here. And while taking this off, first time this has ever happened to me, I actually found a Euro coin, a little 10-cent piece here. This car spent most of its life in Germany, and it was exported over here about 3 or 4 years ago. I bought it 2 years ago. So yeah, 25 years working in this business, worked on plenty of European cars. First time I've ever found foreign currency falling out. You know, there's plenty of nickels and dimes in there too, but so yeah, pretty neat. Okay, so we are going to get down into the floorboard, and I'm going to show you on this side what we have to take off. Now we got our wires unplugged here. There's some grounds we have to take off up here. We'll go ahead and do that. Little 10mm bolts to hold those on. And we'll get down the floorboard. Let me get my light so it's a little bit easier to see, and I'll show you what you have to take off down here. All right, so going underneath the dash, you'll see your steering shaft right here. And there is a bolt right there. It's a Torx head on it. We're gonna have to take that off. And then this will pull out. That shaft right here will extend back. This is for the steering shaft to collapse in case of an accident. It doesn't shove the steering wheel into your chest. There's also a bolt. Let's see if I can find it. It's gonna be, you need to unplug your switches right here for your brake switch. And if you have a clutch, your clutch pedal switch. But there is a bolt right there where my light's at. Hex bolt that's gonna have to come out. And so we're gonna take that out. Go ahead and unplug everything down here. And make sure, because all this is gonna come out with the dash. So just keep that in mind. And now I'm gonna show you on the other side what we have to unplug as well. Okay, so I got the steering shaft undone over there. It's just hanging out. And I got that bolt that holds the pedal assembly up. Got everything unplugged on that side. Now we're over here on the passenger side, and you're gonna need to undo these two bolts right there. Those two, like 13s or something right there. And that should be about what we need to get this thing slid back. There may be a couple more little things here and there we have to take off, but those are the major components we need to slide this thing back and get the heater core out in the open to where we can access it. All right, so you need to take these bolts off right here. They're 2/16s. There's one on the other side. And once you got everything unplugged, all this should just start sliding out, okay? And eventually, you may need more than one person to do this. I'm pretty much working by myself, so I'm gonna have to figure it out. Over here on this side, I've got it pulled out. I was mainly just pulling just to make sure that there wasn't anything hidden back there, but the heater core is right there. And I'm gonna pull it back. I'll be able to pull it back to where it's actually over the shifter, and it's wide open there for replacement. So you got two, I think, screws that hold it in. It just lifts up from the top. So make sure you have enough space at the top to take it out. Okay guys, I got everything almost back together here. I just wanted to go over a couple of things on reassembly. I'm not going to go through the whole process with you guys. But just remember that all these are color coded. Some of them are the same color, but they will not fit in the hole that they're not supposed to go in. So just keep that in mind. Also, with this console, let's see here. I took this front part of the console out, and when trying to reinstall it, it wouldn't clip into the back. So what I ended up having to do is remove this console back here, pull this out. You have some bolts down in here you take off. You just slide this back about 1 inch and you'll be able to get the console back on. Also, it's kind of a personal L I took on this job here. This was a perfect wood steering knob, not a steering knob, but a shift knob, and I cracked it, which is not really that big of a deal, but be careful. If you have one of these wood ones, I would go ahead and just remove it, because when you pull that dash up, it's going to sit right here, and it could mess up the shifter. Also, if you have a high dollar shift knob on a manual transmission car, I would take it off, because that dash is going to sit there and it could damage it like it damaged mine. It's just something I haven't done one of these in such a long time, and you tend to forget a couple of the things that you experience through the years on these. So now all we have to do is bleed it out. I'm gonna go over that real quickly. Okay, so before I put everything back together, I went ahead and pressure tested it, made sure that it was a good heater core. I don't want to put a bad heater core in here. This is an aftermarket core. I'm not familiar with the company, so I just want to go ahead and pressure tested it. It tested out fine. So when we get the battery back in and get it cranked up, we go ahead and fill it up with water. You can vacuum bleed this, which I have a video on this exact car, vacuum bleeding, or you can kind of manually bleed this out. Now, sometimes this pipe right here will have a bleeder valve on it, especially if you have an Audi. When you fill it up, you want to take that bleeder valve out and let the air kind of escape right here. But also, your radiator hose on the left side, it has a little hole at the top here. So you'll take this clamp off, and you want to pull this hose back just enough until that hole is exposed. And that hole will allow any air to travel up this line and out. And so when you're crank up the car, let it run, and that hole will actually spit out some coolant. After that, you want to push this forward, go ahead and tighten it up, and that'll make sure that you get all the air out of the system. So that's very important. If you get air trapped in this, you're not going to have any heat. And you can actually, if you get air trapped in the other part of the system, you can overheat the car, because the water pump won't be able to get past it and the water won't move freely. So
Keep that in mind. Very important on these cars with these really spread out cooling systems. And you can see that the heater core is actually, just about the highest part. So this is also why you'll lose heat if your coolant level is low, because this is the highest point and your heater core will not receive the proper flow. Just keep that in mind. Also, you want to make sure that this rubber boot is pulled all the way through. If not, you will end up with some water leakage in here that can get underneath your carpet and cause some problems there, as these cars always have leaks. I have a whole video just on leaks on this car, so keep that in mind. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching. Again, like the video if it taught you anything, and subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more B5 and B5.5 Passat material coming. I'm just taking my baby out of storage here. I've had her sitting about a year. And so I'm going to be going through and just getting it ready to drive again so I can keep some miles off my GLI. So find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, VK, all those spots that everybody is. I'm also there. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if you have any comments or any video ideas. I try to take all that into effect when I plan out new videos for the channels, which of course come about once a week. We're going into the fall semester here, so I've got a whole bunch of new students coming, and I'm going to prepare a lot of stuff for them as well. So you may see some videos that are kind of off topic next couple of weeks. That's okay. That's actually just some more content coming your way. So let me know how you like it, and we'll see you next time on Auto Scholar with Mr. B.